You know, we are on day 30 of the James Gunn announcement watch because James Gunn told us in January, I'm going to start laying out the plans. I'm going to start, not all of it, but I'm going to start telling you guys the plans sometime in January. We are 30 days into January. Not much left. Got about, what do we got like 39 hours left of January? Not exactly sure. The clock is ticking. We're waiting to hear an announcement. But we may have just found out a little bit about his plans from an unlikely source in Dave Bautista. Now, of course, Dave Bautista is a close friend of James Gunn. James Gunn is the one who really put, outside of the world of wrestling, James Gunn is the one who really put Dave on the map when it comes to acting in the entertainment business, and they have been close, tight friends ever since. Now, we've talked recently about the fact that, well, for years, Dave Bautista has campaigned and wants to play Bane. And we've even said on the show, I've even said on this show, put your money on Dave Bautista being Bane now. James Gunn's his total buddy. He would make a solid Bane. I think you can put your money on that Dave Bautista is going to be Bane. Nope. He ain't going to be Bane because according to a report in Variety, Dave Bautista says he's actually met. He had a meeting, sat down with Peter Safran and with James Gunn and had a talk. And the basics of it was they told him, Dave, we love you, but you're too old. You're too old to play Bane at this point. We need to go a little bit younger. Now, that in and of itself is interesting because it tells us a couple of things. One, that they're not just playing, because listen, Dave Bautista is not too old to play Bane one or two times. He's not. Look at the guy. He's an imposing physical monster. And by the way, if the scenes we've seen at A Knock at the Cabin, he could easily come across as very articulate, intelligent, and menacing, like a Bane should.
But was he born in the darkness?
I was born in the darkness. I mean, maybe he's no Harley Quinn's Bane, which is still one of the greatest characters on television right now, but the actual character Bane has been so misrepresented. Harley Quinn we give a pass because that's that's satire. Bane as a character has been completely misrepresented. Like even going back to the Clooney, Batman, Bane was just this hulking monster. Bane is a like that's his main power is his intelligence, right? I think he could play him great in a one-shot movie. The very fact that James Gunn would say, you can't be Bane because at this point you're aged out. You can't play him at this point. To me, that suggests to me that James Gunn may have long-term plans for a Bane character. Nothing official because it's only January 30th and we still haven't heard anything from James yet. But it tells me he may have longer-term plans. But buried in the headlines of Dave Bautista saying he's too old to play Bane now is a fascinating quote that nobody's really talking about. Because one of the things we've all been discussing is how extensive is this James Gunn, Peter Safran, DC Universe change going to be? Is it going to be like a soft reboot? Is it going to be, we're going to keep some things and change some things? Is it going to be a page one restart? Everybody's had their opinions. Well, Dave Bautista had something interesting to say about that. This is from the article in Variety. Dave Bautista said this, and listen to his wording here. I have had conversations with James about that, playing Bane, Bautista said, but I think the direction he's leaning in, completely rebooting the whole universe, he's starting from scratch and starting younger and fresher, and I think you need to do that. I think for the DC Universe to be revived, you need to start from scratch, and I think you need to start with younger actors. You need to start to plan for the next 15 years, and I just don't think you can do that with me, he said, and I understand that. Again, listen to this. James Gunn is leaning towards completely rebooting the whole universe, starting from scratch, on and on and on. Now, Dave Bautista is also saying something that we have said a number of times. Because listen, we don't know what James Gunn's doing. But we have said for a long time, look, if you want to revive this thing, if you want to give this thing a fighting chance to be where the DC properties deserve to be, on par, success-wise, reputation-wise, all that kind of stuff with the Marvel films, you can't do it by continuing on with a universe that has fallen completely short of that. You need a fresh start. Now, whether or not James Gunn is do that, we don't know for sure. But Dave Bautista, who knows James Gunn very well, coming on saying, yeah, I had a talk with him and Peter. I think they're leaning towards a complete day one restart, which this is the closest thing we've heard to any kind of a and I wouldn't call this a confirmation because it's not James Gunn himself. But this is a very, very close friend of James Gunn who had discussions about him, about being a part of the DC universe. And it sounds like they're going for a complete restart. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Fume. Be smart. Don't start. Kick the habit. Put it out before it puts you out. All phrases we've heard 100 times, and yet we still continue to have bad habits. Today's sponsor, Fume, is on a mission to accelerate humanity's breakup from the bad habits that consume far too many of us. Fume is a natural diffusive device that uses plants and behavioral science to help you trade out your negative habit for a positive one. You see, Fume is not a vape. It's a non-electronic device designed to transform your negative habits. Because instead of pods filled with potentially harmful chemicals like a vape, Fume uses cores infused with plants like peppermint and cinnamon for delicious natural flavors. And Fume's new version 2 model is snappy and tactile. With an adjustable airflow dial and a magnetic end cap, your fingers will always have something to do. The device itself is really attractive, and once I popped in the core and took my first inhale of it, it tasted fantastic. Guys, the easiest way to stop a bad habit is to switch to a positive one, and Fume is designed to perfectly do just that. So head over to tryfume.com and use the promo code Campea to save 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. The Journey Pack comes with 3 unique flavors and the new version 2 Fume to help kickstart your positive habits. That's tryfume, tryfum.com, and use the code Campea to save an additional 10% off your order today. Anyway, Rob, 2 separate questions here. First question obviously is about what do you think about the idea that, we were very bullish on the idea of Dave Bautista playing Bane. Looks like that's not going to happen. And secondly, what do you think about Bautista saying that he thinks James Gunn's going for a complete page 1 restart?
Well, first of all, Bautista's got Knock at the Cabin coming out, where he's
looks great.
Front and center. I mean, and you've pointed out that of all, and we've talked about this on the show, that of all these actors, the wrestlers turned actors, that Bautista is really stated and he's shown through his, I thought he was terrific in Glass Onion. And now seeing this, he's really carving himself out an acting career, working with different directors, definitely tackling different kinds of material, because Knock at the Cabin is very different than his Glass Onion role.
Or his Drax role.
And I'm very excited, to be honest. I think what he said is what we've been saying about what James Gunn was going to do. A complete reboot, starting over, a reconceptualization, a reimagining of the DC cinematic universe from scratch. And that, John, has always been why I'm excited for it, because, look, we got a decade of, and we're still getting the remnants of what Zack Snyder and Christopher Nolan started with Man of Steel. And we're getting that ultimately with Aquaman, and that's kind of a fitting end. You had a decade of their vision of it with different characters and iterations of things. And that's a generation, that's
in movie terms, that is a generation.
It's a generation. Yeah. So the fact that we're getting something new and that there's architects behind it that are starting from scratch, that's exciting to me from an imagination connoisseur fan. I want to see what they're going to do. This is something as a comic fan I've seen, and I think with James Gunn, look, the guy who's doing this already created a franchise for Marvel that everyone said, Guardians of the Galaxy? And the fact that you've talked about how much you love Slither and what he did with Super, this is somebody that has worked in the business for a very long time, that is being given the reins of power. Basically, it's what all of us geeks dream of. Well, if I ever had the opportunity to do something with my favorite franchise, he's getting that opportunity. So by proxy, he's doing what we all would hope to do. And I'm very curious to see what he's going to do. And I think it's really exciting.
By the way, just side question. Did you see the tweet he put out like a week or 2 ago? James Gunn put out a tweet where it's a picture of him at his breakfast table looking outside his window. He said, starting the day with coffee and comics. And I think that was All-Star Superman. And that, do you think that was just like, it just happened to be the one in front of him, or do you think he was giving a hint?
I think that I didn't know if you saw it, but this weekend he put out a tweet. Somebody asked him, there's a whole tweet string about people waiting for this. Like, should we get Congress involved to find out? It was very funny. And it was because James Gunn came out and said, I don't know what the tweet was, but it was something he said, oh, you're going to find out, meaning we're going to get this announcement by the end of the month.
All of these things have been tremors. They've been tremors leading up to the main event. what you mentioned, even this article that just dropped, these are little tremors that are leading up. He's playing us like a fiddle.
Yeah, he really is. And that the tweet string, I think it was yesterday, was hilarious because it was all in response to what he said. So I think whether today or tomorrow, there's going to be some big doings happening, especially on this show, because we're going to respond.
Okay.
Eddie Murphy
but if
is Donkey.
he is in like an all-star Superman, who would you want him as? Would you want him as like a Lex Luthor, as Parasite? Do you want him to just be like working
Dave
at Cadmus?
Bautista?
Yeah. If,
I don't know
he's
if
reading
he'll be
that.
in it.
But if he's reading that for like role research, just wild speculation.
No, it was James Gunn reading it. It wasn't
James
Dave Bautista.
Gunn?
Yeah, it was
okay.
James Gunn saying, starting the day with
reading
coffee
it.
and comics. It was James Gunn's tweet, not
Well,
Dave
he's got to
Bautista.
do that for work. Never mind. That's less
Dave
exciting.
Bautista's not going to be Superman.
It's wildly less exciting to me. Okay. I thought Dave Bautista was reading it, and I was
No,
like,
it was
could he
James
be
Gunn.
Parasite?
That's a totally different story.
That'd
No,
be
but
cool.
I'm with Jonathan. James Gunn, of all the people that have been running
wise.
a studio, James Gunn knows how to manipulate social media. I'm sure they've charted this course out from the beginning. That's one of the appeals that I think James Gunn has, is he has this huge audience and he can play us, and we are being played.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to be doing something I never do. I'm going to be having my phone with James Gunn's Twitter account open, and I'm going to be refreshing it every 10 minutes. See, has he dropped it? Because again, we got like 30 something hours left for him to meet this self-imposed deadline of end of January. Anyway, Chris, we had this discussion about maybe Dave Bautista being Bane, about it's been a dream role of his. Now one of his buddies is the head of DC. What do you think about the notion that, and what do you make of the fact that he's saying that looks like I'm too old to play the role now? And then furthering to his comments, what do you think about him saying that James Gunn is going to do a page one restart?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's 54 years old, and we're not getting a Bane movie today. So
Right.
it's something that would be down the pipeline. So while he is very physically fit and does lots of really great physical acting work too, if he makes this movie 5-10 years from now, it's going to be an older gentleman. You probably want to start with somebody a little bit younger so you have a little bit more durability and sustainability with that kind of role, right? I think that it's great that they're starting from scratch. I think that's fantastic. I think that's what needs to be done here. And I want to reiterate that this doesn't mean that some of the other things that we've talked about are going to completely go away, right? We're still going to have Matt Reeves do another Batman movie. There's always all this talk
Yes.
about how, like, it's not going to happen. We're not getting it now. James Gunn is going to destroy everything I love. He's not. He's not. He is a true fan who's reading comic books on his free time. Again, it's his job, but I'm very pleased with this. He's a true fan. He loves this stuff. He loves this IP. I think he's going to give it the best shot it's got. And that's what we as fans deserve, is somebody who loves this material, respects this material, trying to make the best stories possible and the best adaptations. We're going to be talking so much today about how hard it is to do a good adaptation and what changes you should make from source material when you're changing mediums or changing stories. And I think James Gunn is going to do a really great job of all that. And I think restarting everything is a solid foundation.
All right, guys.
We want to thank
question is for you. What do you think of Masterclass? No, question is for you. What do you think about this? Number one, that Dave Bautista, I guess he's saying, yeah, I'm too old to be the start of this character. Do you think that suggests that James Gunn might have big plans for Bane? And also, what do you think about Dave Bautista saying this is going to be a complete restart, which may not be what a lot of people were thinking it was going to be? We got 30-something hours to find out what James Gunn is doing. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your